was a lad, a tiny wee lad, my mother said to me, come see the northern lights, my boy, they're bright as they can be. She called them the heavenly dances, merry dances in the sky. I'll never forget that wonderful sight, they made the heavens bright. This is it! The northern lights of old Aberdeen, in home sweet home to me. The northern lights of Aberdeen are all I want to see. I've been a wanderer all my life, and many a sight I've seen. Godspeed the day when I'm on my way to my home in Now, that'll give you an idea that this week we're north of the border, Aberdeen, His Majesty's Theatre we're in, with a house full of smiling Aberdonians. And we all know why they're smiling. They all got in for free. Yes, indeed. Aberdeen, a name that strikes terror into the heart of every flag seller. Aberdeen, where 2 taxis collided and all 38 passengers were taken to the infirmary. Aberdeen, where the theatre landladies always leave a fork in the sugar bowl. And always switch the gas off when they turn the bacon over. Now, look out, folks, they're coming towards me now. You can't blame the English for Aberdeen's canny image. All those guys came from Scott's comics. They started it themselves. Everyone from Sir Harry Lauder to Jimmy Logan have done their bit to embroider the legend. There was even an acrobatic act that came from up this way called The 3 Aberdonians. And on the posters they always had, the 3 Aberdonians, too mean to tell you what they do. But there was one Aberdonian who was never afraid to tell anyone what he did. This gentleman here, Sam Bodie from Park Street, Aberdeen, alias Dr. Walford Bodie, MD. The great electric wizard. Walford Bodie was in his heyday the 2nd highest paid performer in British music hall. The first was Sir Harry Lauder. The very first musical performer ever to be knighted and Scotland's greatest ambassador for over 60 years. His story is as well known as his unforgettable songs. Songs that are still sung all over the world wherever people like to have a knees up. Now let's see how many of these you can join in, because we're going to hear some of the very best now from today's greatest Scottish ambassador in my book. He is, of course, Mr. Andy Stewart.
Bonny, bonny lassie, she's as pure as the lily in the dell, and she's as sweet as the Helen, the bonny bloomin' Helen, a Mary Muscat Bluebell, all together now. Lassie, she's as pure as the lily in the dell, and she's as sweet as the Helen, the I've seen lots of bonny lassies travelling far and wide, but my heart is centred now on bonny Kate McBride. And although I'm no a chap that gives a lot away, I've been quite surprised myself at all I've had to say when we go. sorrows too. As you journey on, all your heart will yearn for the things most dear to you. With love and wealth to show, but onward we must go. If I come to the end of the road, if I come to the end, though the way will always around me long, if I come around the bend, and though you're tired and weary, still you're happy aboard. When all you're and you're dreaming, we'll be there at the end of the road.
Now, they've always enjoyed a good play in Aberdeen, and in the early years, Edward Compton, the father of Fay and Sir Compton Mackenzie, had his companies here, as did Wilson Barrett. Now, twice during and after the Second World War, the Whatmore Players had long stays, and they had in their company people like Stuart Granger and Michael Dennison and Dulcie Gray. They did so well on their 15-quid joint here, they decided to get married here. Now, our next guest tonight is a great favourite here. He was born in the city here on Christmas Day, 1900 and frozen to death, and he is an Aberdonian through and through. He once remarked, if a man insults you by offering you a drink, swallow the insult. Oh, yeah. Audiences here have had the great joy of seeing him in all sorts of roles, but we perhaps know him best as the most famous Scottish medic since Dr. Jekyll. He is Mr. Andrew Cruikshank.
It really is extraordinary. It's over 60 years since I first put my foot on the stage when I was at the grammar school. Indeed, I was born just at the foot of Union Street. His Majesty's Theatre has always seemed to be the center of my life in some way. The great Christmas pantomimes. But it was not only that, there was music, there was opera. Up there on the fourth row, I listened to Barbarelli conduct the BNOC in Wagner's Meistersinger. There was an opera company called the Carl Rosa, in which there was a wonderful soprano singing Aida, Eva Turner. So good that Toscanini selected her to sing Turandot for Puccini's first performance of Puccini's last opera. In the middle of all that, of course, there were the amateurs. The Lyric Opera Company. I had a great friend, Sandy Shinney, who had once been a professional, and we used to read Shakespeare together when I was young. He was very much older than me. But he was the producer of the Lyric Opera Company, and one day he said to me, Andrew, would you like to help me in Merry England? I said, yes, certainly. So I'll tell you what I did, and this was my first appearance on this stage. I stood up here on the banks of the Thames, dressed in Elizabethan costume, and then at an appropriate time, I used to come skipping down the stage and say that she was coming, she's coming, she's coming. I think it was Queen Elizabeth, but I'm not certain. And so I've been very fortunate. I've gone to the Old Vic and Stratford and so on, and had a very good life, beginning here. I came back here in 1956 with Flora Robson in a play called The House by the Lake. And the Lord promised that it would be a very good idea if he entertained Flora and me to lunch one day, and we did, across the Caledonian there. And after lunch, he said to the reporters who were there, "Gentlemen, will you please leave the room? I want to say something to my colleagues." And they all left the room, and he turned to them and he said, "Look, I've just come back from visiting our sister town in Germany. It's half our size, and it spends 3 times the amount of money that we do on art. I am ashamed, gentlemen. I am truly ashamed." Well, North Sea oil has happened, and his shame is expiated. Look at this wonderful place that we now have here. The Temple of the North. I left to go to Shakespeare. Now, I will leave a little word of Shakespeare with you. The cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherit shall dissolve, and like an insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a wreck behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and this little life is rounded with a sleep. I hope that the words and music and infinite variety which we hear in this place will nurture your dreams. Good night.
Garden for me, a garden for me. If your nay a garden, your nay is to me. The black watch of broad, the sea forth and on, but the cocky wee garden's the pride of them all. The cocky wee garden's the pride of them all, and this wee garden was the pride of Glasgow, Edinburgh, and especially Aberdeen for more than 50 years. Harry Alex Ross Gordon. Harry Gordon, the Laird of Inversnecky. And in a country famous for its pantomime dames, Harry Gordon was probably the most famous of them all. Now, Harry Gordon is the sort of hard-working and dedicated pro I love, and I really, really wish I'd met him, if only to get my hands on his gag book. You know? I mean, he had hundreds of characterizations and double acts, and those little quickie sketches that he was the very first to do. He always used to do a couple of these little quickie sketches at the beginning of all his big reviews. And I was reading one the other day, the curtain went up, and there he was discovered kneeling over a tombstone saying, "Why did she die? Why did you die?" A vicar came on from the side and said, "Ah, mourning the loss of a loved one." He said, "No, it's the wife's first husband. Why did you die?" Now, Harry Gordon particularly appeals to me as a Sassenach through his songs. Now, from 1925 onwards, he always used original songs. They were topical, full of local comments and real Aberdonian characters, and they still work today. Now, in 1971, 3 blokes brought their own show here, and it was such a success they've been back half a dozen times since. Their show was topical, local, and full of Aberdonian characters. So why don't we meet them now? They are, of course, Scotland the What?
We're struggling here, you know. This is going out to England. There's a language barrier.
Oh, never, never, never. Damn a bat. The folk in England are nae half-field gapes. Or glicked gummerals.
What's Roy Hudd going to make of that?
No problem, he's a cockney. He speaks funny kind himself. But I tell you, you understood him fine when he offered you a drink.
That's true, that's true. But this song we're doing, it's all about Aberdeen and roundabout. I mean, this may surprise you, but there's a lot of folk in London who've never heard a balloter.
there's a lot of folk in Ballater have never heard of London.
I mean, mind you, the upmarket English audience, they know Ballater. The royal family, been coming there for years.
Aye, Queen Victoria, she used to get off a train in Ballater.
Of course, your Uncle Sandy used to be the station master there.
What do you mean used to be? He still is.
Still is.
Aye.
But Ballater Station closed down in 1966.
Well, nobody's never told Uncle Sandy.
City folk, kitty folk, country folk and city folk, folk for Constitution Street and folk for Roseland End. Wallfield, Nellfield, Mannafield and Catterfield, lots of local stories that you maybe dinna ken. I mind when Harry Gordon sang this song down at the beach.
A show for all the family, and it cost them 6pence each.
I can mind in wartime when a bomb fell on the green.
And Hess flew out to make a separate peace wi' Aberdeen. Fitting folk, kitting folk, country folk and city folk, folk for Constitution Street and folk for Roseland End. Wallfield, Nellfield, Mannafield and Catterfield, lots of local stories that you maybe dinna ken. I can mind the time afore the Isle-fin trade was slack.
I can mind the time the shocking briggy didn't shock.
I mind King Edward VII, quite a ladies' man, they say.
There's money's just as double Biden and Ballater the day. Fitting folk, kidding folk, country folk and city folk, folk for Constitution Street and folk for Roseland End. Wallfield, Nellfield, Mannafield and Catterfield, lots of local stories that you maybe dinna ken. I can mind from Aberdeen whose prices weren't going up.
I can mind when teams for Glasgow used to win the cup.
I can mind the typhoid epidemic at its worst.
We never washed our hands unless we did the lobby first. City folk, country folk and city folk, folk for Constitution Street and folk for Roseland End. Wallfield, Nellfield, Mannafield and Catterfield, that's the end of us and now it's back to Roy again.
There you go. Now, I wonder if any of you know who this lot are. No, you're wrong. It's not Scotland the Who. They are the Folderols, probably the greatest team of seaside entertainers Great Britain ever produced. They delighted holidaymakers for over 60 years. Now, and what great performers they had with them, too. Arthur Askey, Richard Murdoch, Jack Warner, the Weston Brothers, Cyril Fletcher, and David Nixon. All Folderols. Now, they'd been playing the English seaside resorts for about 40 years, when in the 50s now, Peter Donald, who used to be the governor of this place here, saw their show in Scarborough and booked them for Aberdeen. And they came back once a year for the next 15 years. And they introduced a real favourite to Aberdeen, a real His Majesty's favourite, Leslie Crowther. Now, he should have been with us tonight, but unfortunately the price wasn't right. So, they also introduced a man who was firstly Sid Field's understudy and then principal comedian with the Folderols for 14 years. Since then, he's developed into one of our finest pantomime performers. I did panto with him last Christmas, and believe me, he is the governor. So tonight, with another ex-Folderol favourite, Alan Christie, he's here to teach us the art of campanology. Bell ringing. He is Mr. Jack Tripp. of course, the completion of the theatre didn't really satisfy everyone. There were a few knocking voices. It prompted one local prominent citizen to say, Aberdeen now has the set of three: a public library, St. Mark's Church, and His Majesty's Theatre. Education, salvation, and damnation. But the local people loved the new theatre, so much so that they had to employ a packer up there in the gallery. That was a fella with a cushion on a pole, and he used to literally pack the audience into their seats like sardines in a can. Now, from the very beginning, opera and ballet have always been very big attractions here. In fact, the second company ever to appear here were the D'Oyly Carte Company. And in 1913, the Imperial Russian Ballet came here. Now, the Scottish Ballet first came here in 1969, and since then, they've had many memorable triumphs, and they've brought some wonderful guest stars with them, too. In 1975, in the company of Dame Margot Fontaine, they brought probably the most famous name in the world of dance today, Rudolf Nureyev.
Did you see that? As soon as my leg went up, did you see? Straight out of the seat. Walk, walk, walk. That's the wire broke. I've got cramp. I think I found one. We're supposed to finish together. I'm not doing that one again. He's gone. Hey. Me? Yes. My favourites. Pansies. What a completely unrehearsed, this isn't it?
But what an unusual name. Near enough. I mean, how did it come about?
Well, it's given to me by Dame Margot.
Oh, go on.
Yes, because I used to work at the Aberdeen fish market.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And when I first danced with her, she said, "Oh, that's near enough."
I fear, before they start coming towards us, Mr. Near Enough, I fear I must go over here and carry on with the show.
Oh, can I give you a lift?
Oh, please.
When I'm hiking, pack upon my back. I'm happy when I'm hiking on the beaten track. Out in the open country, out in the open country, tramping all the way. With a real good friend to the journey's end. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles a day.
Marvellous, that was. Very good. Now, the hit song of yet another Aberdonian who made it right to the very top. This is him here, G.S. Melvin. He was born in the city in 1889. His dad was in the business before him, and he made his very first appearance on the stage at the old Alhambra Theatre, Aberdeen, at the age of 5 years. Now, as a burlesque comedian and a quick change artist, he topped bills all over the world. And as a soft shoe dancer, he was said to be second only to the Lily of Laguna man, Eugene Stratton. Now, his characterizations ranged from a Victorian dandy to a Clydesdale stoker. But it was in the 20s that he had his biggest successes with his female impersonations. Now, he did them all, mate, I tell you. Girl guides, hockey players, and, of course, hikers. He was the first of a long line of successful Scottish dames. Harry Gordon, Ricky Fulton, Stanley Baxter. G.S. Melvin. Now, whether G.S. Melvin, well, he certainly did play dame, but whether our next artist ever did play dame, I've never yet found out. But he certainly has made his mark as a most peculiar Scottish character. I love him. Here's Chick Murray.
Half of that would have done me. Oh, you're very good. Yes. Now, I'm living with an aunt here. Well, it's my auntie. Well, it's not really my auntie. I think we all have this. This is my auntie. It's never your auntie. You know. In this case, I know it's not my auntie. It's my uncle. He just likes to be called auntie. So he said to me, if you're passing the butcher, he said, get a sheep's head. I'm making some broth. I said, if I'm passing the butcher, I'll need to go into the butcher. Oh, he said, yes, he said. I said, I hope you don't think I'm being too cryptocatic. Oh, no, he said. No, it's just your ways, he said. Just then I felt pain, you know. And I thought, oh-ho. Was it oh-ho? No, it wasn't oh-ho. You'd have forgotten now, you know. It would happen on the television. Oh-ho. Oh, dear. I was worried about this. And I went straight to the doctor, the nearest doctor I could see, and I made my way into the waiting room. I mean, you've got to know a doctor fairly well to force yourself into a surgery. So I sat down just to let him see I'd been around. There was a bench, otherwise I never attempted it. You're all there, they're seated, and you're seated, and they're looking at you, and you're looking at them, wondering what's wrong with them. And then the door opened, and I looked, just to give myself something to do. I've seen a door opening before. There was no novelty, you know. And this fellow came in, a stranger to me. And though there was ample room in the waiting room, he chose to sit beside me. I realized that as soon as he ensconced himself, you know. And he was in very close proximity. I thought I felt a nudge. I wasn't too sure, but I was... Then he started speaking to me about this and that, of which I know very little. He said, what do you think of this? Oh, I said, I don't think much of that. And I thought, if he comes out with a bag of toffees, I'm off. So, just as I was contemplating this, the door of the surgery opened, the doctor made his entry. Just a small fanfare, ta-da-da, you know. And he was wearing a kilt, very short, I thought, but still. Then he took a little run, stood in his hands. He said, how's that for a shuttlecock? He said, strip. Strip. I said, don't you think you should take me out a couple of times first? He said, take your clothes off. I said, where'll I put them? He said, put them on top of mine. He said, let me see you walk. He said, we doctors, you don't mind a piece of French, do you? Come in. I said, no. He said, well, we doctors, he said, we can tell a lot from a walk. You turn well. I had to turn. I was up against the wall. Excellent, he said. I knew he was pleased the way he patted me. Well done, he said. He missed me the second time. I shot my step. He said, I hope you don't mind. Oh, I said, feel free. He said, it's an excellent walk. Have you been practicing? I said, no. There's only one thing, he said. You're swaying a little. It's not unseemly. I quite like it, he said. He said, have you been drinking any of that pansy wine? I said, no, I have not. Maybe something you ate. I said, well, perhaps, doctor. He said, yesterday, for example. I said, well, I had some roast peasant. Oh, I said, that shouldn't... Oh, he said, I'm a doctor of medicine. I'm not a teacher of elocution, but it's not been a peasant. Probably a partridge. Oh, no. He said, bend over, he said. And I did that. He said, you're blushing. I don't know how he knew. He said, you're covered in tattoos, too, he said. That's an interesting one. He said, that fox disappearing. I must have a look at that. I said, yes. So... So I bent over, and I had positioned myself badly. Because the door burst open. I never thought of a doorknob like, oh. I thought it was there for keeps. So I had a quick look between my legs, just to see who it was. A fellow there like Garth. I straightened up quickly. I said, doctor. He said, don't call me doctor. I feel as if I know you, he said. From now on, he said, it's first names. Call me Lance. I said, well, Lance, could you write me out a recipe? Now, make for the nearest... he said, go make to the chemist for that. I said, all right, thank you. So I made to the nearest chemist, and the fellow said, yes. I said, is the apothecary, is he in? Oh, I said, we don't have one of these. I said, what about the pharmacist? No, I said, it's just me, the chemist. Just at that moment, a woman came in with a rush. She put the rush in a chair. Nice little thing it was. I was in my stash, you know. Hello. I said, oh, hello. I said, are you all right? Yes, thank you. So, see what you're getting? Oh, well, never mind, yes. So he said to the woman, what is it? She said, it's my ulcer. Oh, he said, there's no need to call me sir. He said, what is it with you? I said, I have a message from the front. Oh, he said, I haven't had one of these in years, he said. Were you followed? I said, no. Good, he said, good. Oh, he said, You're due some pills. He said, well, I put them in a box. I said, well, it'll save me rolling them all the way home. Well, that's your cue whenever you want to. Yeah.
You know, I've had a marvellous time combing through the archives for tonight's show. And one thing I've discovered in relation to this theatre, there are just two names that are mentioned more than any other. Of course, first, the great Harry Gordon. And secondly, a gentleman who made his first appearance here in 1958. He's been coming back once a year practically ever since. We're always pleased to see him. Of course he is, Mr. Andy Stewart.
Journey to the north, over Tweed and over Forth, by the kingdom of Fife and o'er the Tay, and by Angus and Kincardine, where the land sweeps to the sea, you will reach the place that is dear to me. Aberdeen, Aberdeen, all the world I have seen, I swear to you by all the stars above, if I ever cease to roam, I'll be proud to call it home. Aberdeen, the silver city that I love. Oh, when the pipes are ringing and the kids are swinging and your heart is singing as you gaily march along, you hear the story that is brave and roary in the tunes of glory of an old Scots song. If you're standing near them and you will hear them, you will want to cheer them as you feel the glory there. The music fills you and the drum beat fills you and the rhythm fills you up the old black bear. Brave are the honours we carry before us, brave are the hearts that will lift in the chorus. Hear them play, hear them say, that is the story in the tunes of glory. There was a soldier, a Scottish soldier, who wandered far away and soldiered far away. There was none bolder, with good broad shoulder. He'd fought in many a fray and fought and won. He'd seen the glory, he'd told the story of battles glorious and deeds victorious. But now he's sighing, his heart is crying, to leave those green hills of Tyrol, because those green hills are not Highland hills, or the Island hills, they're not my land's hills and fair as these green foreign hills may be, they are not the hills. Come on, we'll all sing it together. Oh, those green hills are not Highland hills, or the Island hills, they're not my land's hills and fair as these green foreign hills may be, they are not the hills of home. I've just come down from the Isle of Skye. I'm very big in the motley shine and the lassie shout when I go by. Go! All the lasses say hello, to where the killed is my delight. It is not wrong, I know it's right. All the folks would get afraid if they saw me wearing the rose hat. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in the hills I'll go. All the lasses say hello, all the lasses want me, everyone. Let them catch me if they can. You can't take the bricks of a hill and mile, and I don't wear the toes are. Let the wind blow high, let the wind blow low, through the streets in the hills I'll go. All the lasses say hello, where's your toes are?
Marvellous. Thanks very much indeed, Annie. And can I thank you, Aberdeen, for the loan of your beautiful 24-carat hall. It's been a joy to be here with you. I hope you've enjoyed it at home. There's only one way we could finish our visit north of the border, with a pipe band, and no one better than the Aberdeen Ladies Pipe Band. Yeah.